Hey everybody, my name is Tomas. I am the owner and master tobacconist here at Ultimo Premium Cigars. We are a small boutique manufacturer located in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I wanted to go over some really cool stuff in this new series where we break down the processes of manufacturing, we break down the failures and the successes, and how the cigar goes from leaf to your humidor at home. Today we're going to discuss bunching. So the cigar is made up of three general parts. You have the filler, the binder, and the wrapper. We look at the different bunching techniques and how the cigar is made. Now there's three traditional cigar bunching methods, and I'll put the first video here of the entubar method. The entubar method is a method by where they take the individual leaves, roll them into individual tubes, put them side by side within the body of the cigar, hopefully placing the ligero in the center and then allowing that tobacco to be able to have the most heat for combustion, because that is the thickest, most dense leaf on the plant. Now, to give you a little bit of context, a tobacco plant, when it is harvested for cigars, it is harvested in primings. So what that means is that the entire plant is not harvested all at one time. However, as the individual layers of the plant reach maturity, each of those layers will be harvested individually. So for the plant, you have different primings. You have volado, seco, viso, ligero. And at the top of the plant is the ligero, where you have the most sunlight. Those are the last leaves being harvested. And so therefore, those have the most nutrients. It's a denser, thicker leaf, retains more oils, and burns slower. So ideally, the ligero leaf ends up in the center of the cigar, where you're going to get the most heat for combustion. So once the tobaccos are placed into individual tubes in the entubar method, they're going to be placed side by side, and then the ends of the leaves are torn off because the leaf itself, as displayed, is going to be kind of a tapered shape. So you have more material in the center than you do at the top or the bottom of the leaf. And if you roll that cigar up without filling in the ends, then the cigar will be kind of like a torpedo shape on both ends. And so what you have to do then is backfill in the tips and the tail end of the leaf into the cigar, so that way you have consistency of density across the body of the cigar. So once you put that all together, you wrap it in a binder leaf, and then you put it into a wrapper leaf after it's been pressed in a mold. Now, the next method is called the accordion method. The accordion method is going to be taking the individual leaves and folding them up like a paper fan, essentially, or an accordion. So that way they have multiple airways and they're stacked side by side again. The third way is going to be the bookend method. And the bookend method is going to take the individual leaves and fold them up and put them essentially like pages in a book and roll them together. You'll find the entubar method primarily used in Cuban cigars. You'll also find that the entubar method is more ideal for a round cigar, whereas a lot of manufacturers will use the accordion method for box press cigars that are square because they're pressed. That accordion method kind of helps keep the tobaccos aligned. So now when we look at the successes in these methods, when done right and done in the hand, the cigar comes out really well, burns well, has good draw. Now, the operative failure in this is that it is dependent on the roller's hand and their own sensitivity to density and so forth. So as they're building that cigar in their hand, they have to be aware tactically of the different leaf, how much of each leaf they're putting in for consistency of flavor, and then also how much leaf they're putting in as a whole. The other problem becomes when they take the individual pieces and kind of backfill that leaf into the cigar, which can lead to inconsistency in the burn. When we see burn errors like tunneling, runs, canoeing, and other factors, a lot of times that's attributed to the placement of the leaf and the burn rate of the leaf. Now, in the industry, on the consumer side, it's usually passed on to the consumer as you're burning too fast, you're not taking enough time between intervals of draw, or you're taking too long, or whatever it might be. Now, I always tell people the cigar industry is the only industry that I know that makes the consumer accountable for the failures of the manufacturing processes. These are processes that have developed over generations and over decades that leads to the cigar being handmade the way that it is. And the excuse of being a handmade product lends to people making that excuse for the cigar when it doesn't perform properly. Now, I'll tell you, there are different ways and different methods to do this. I perfected a different method that is our in-house method, where we layer the tobaccos, kind of intertwine them in a very specific way. And then also that we maintain the leaf in a very specific way to retain humidity, moisture, and things of that sort, because that all plays into the method as well. The level of moisture in the cigar, if it's wet leaf, if it's limp, the density of the leaf is going to determine how likely the cigar will be plugged. So if you have limp, damp leaf, it's more likely to collapse on itself and plug a cigar. If you have too much leaf and you compress it in the mold, it's likely to collapse and create a plugged cigar. If you're bunching either in entubar or any of these methods and you twist as you put it into a binder leaf, or as you're bunching it, it can twist and create a knot and plug the cigar. If you have a large central midrib vein of the leaves, can cause plugs in a cigar. So there's a lot of variables that are in place within the processes. For this reason, a master roller usually has anywhere from a minimum of 3 to 5 years of experience, and oftentimes up to 10 years to be considered a master roller. And even within that, a traditional manufacturer will operate at about an 80% success rate, which means you have a 20% chance of failure in a cigar, whether it's due to draw characteristics, if the cigar manufacturer is draw testing, due to weight, if they use weight as a parameter for quality control, or appearance on the wrapper side. And we'll go over the wrapping process in another video, but here we wanted to kind of stick with the bunching methods. So when you are picking out a cigar and you're in the retailer and you want to pick out a good cigar, my recommendation is to look at the foot of the cigar. One, the foot of the cigar is going to indicate the density of the pack of the cigar. So you can feel across the body of the cigar and find if there's any hollow spots. Hollow spots meaning that there's not enough tobacco in a certain area. And those hollow spots can lead to what they call mouse holes on the side of your cigar, where it burns randomly in the middle of your cigar because there's too much oxygen and it burns hot in that spot. But in addition to that, you look at the placement of the tobaccos in the cigar. If you see dark, thick leaf, that's likely your ligero leaf. And if it's concentrated into one part of the cigar, then you're likely going to have an inconsistent burn, because that side of your cigar won't burn at the same rate as the rest of the cigar. If you have light, thin leaf in a pocket over here, for example, would be too much seco or light leaf in that section, you can end up with tunneling down the middle of your cigar. If you see inconsistent packing where the center is a little bit too loose, whereas the outside is real tight, that can lead to tunneling down the middle, because you have more oxygen burning the center too fast and not burning the outside fast enough. So those are certain manufacturing processes that can lead to failure. If it is good quality and fits all those quality control measures and it still burns improperly, you want to look at how you toast the foot of the cigar, how you light the cigar. Ensuring a good consistent burn means toasting the foot of the cigar and being able to get a nice even red glow on the cherry of the foot of the cigar. And then once you see a nice consistency and kind of blow into the cigar as you're lighting it, holding the cigar at about a 45-degree angle and torching at the top of the cigar corner here. And what that's allowing you to do is avoid burning up the side of the cigar, concentrating the heat to the filler leaf, but also it's preheating the tobacco in a consistent manner. So then you take the cigar, take a couple of puffs over the flame until you see large bellows of flame come off of the cigar. Then you know that the tobacco is lit and it's burning on its own and not based on the superficial burn of the lighter itself. Once you have a nice consistent burn of the cigar, and you've already established before you smoke the cigar that it has a nice consistency in the construction, you should be good to go. So as I mentioned, it's not always the manufacturer that fails. Sometimes it is the consumer. But don't always assume that it is your fault and that you're not smoking the cigar properly. When you're picking out the cigar, that you are determining that that cigar has the largest chance of being a good experience by examining the foot of the cigar and how the cigar has been bunched. Again, this is Tomas, the tobacconist here at Ultimo Premium Cigars. If you have any questions or you'd like to see anything covered in the next video, please drop it in the comments. Make sure you follow, subscribe, and all the good stuff. And if you're on other social medias, I'm always at Ultimo Cigars.